Hi everyone, friends of all ages. Welcome to Her Journey, Her Strength, where we highlight incredible women and listen to their stories. Today, we're going to have a Mother's Day special episode. What we want to do today is not the kind of show where we just send flowers, have dinner, and say thank you, Mom, and that's it. Because Mother's Day is not just about saying thank you, it's about actually stopping and really listening, and thinking about how a mother's intelligence and love shape us and make us who we are today. We're so grateful to have our guests with us. Some of you may remember Michele. She has been on our show before, and today she's back with her daughter and her mother, 3 generations of one family, Calaya, Michele, and Manet.
Thank you, Serena. I'm excited to be here today. My name is Calaya, and this is my mother, Michele, and my grandmother, Manet. And we're very excited to be here for Mother's Day and to have this opportunity to sit together and talk. I'm really excited because we see each other a lot, probably every week, but it's rare that we all sit down together and get to reflect on our relationship. So, I wanted to start off with asking my mom what Mother's Day means to her and if she feels like it's changed at all, both in her own life and also in the wider world.
That's a good question. I at first thought of Mother's Day as more of a Hallmark holiday because it was a little bit of a gimmick. However, if I reflect more deeply on it, I realize that it's an opportunity to really take time to feel grateful for my mother and also for my children to have a moment to think about what has been involved in my role as a mother. I think it's valuable to take the moment and pause and for everyone in the world to recognize their own mothers. So I know this is a day that we recognize it in the United States, but I also know that across many countries there's a moment to pause and think about our moms and let our mothers know how special they are to us, and that we do recognize all of the effort, hardship, and love and commitment that mothers bring into our lives, especially my mom.
It reminds me of a day, really, where I get a day off. A lot of people don't treat it that way. They say, Happy Mother's Day, what are you cooking? So what you do is you get the family to plan to go out, so you don't have to do anything. But I like it because we all come together and we eat together and we talk. We talk about what's going on with you, what's going on with you, and then of course they want to know what's going on with me. None of their business. Anyways, it's always nice and pleasant.
I wanted to ask about my great-grandmother, Amparo. I share her middle name, and we all actually share her middle name. I feel very connected to that. And do you have any special memories or stories of your grandma and of your mother that maybe helped shape who you are today, or any Mother's Day stories? You could start, Grandma.
Yes, my mom reminded us that she only finished the 8th grade. So it was very important for her that we finish school. And although she only finished the 8th grade, she spoke Spanish, Japanese, Filipino, and English. So she was a linguist, and she did part of her life in Japan. She helped me think about how I should raise my children. She was strict, but I believe she was fair, because we lie when we're kids. So anyways, it instilled in me that that's what I should be fair, strict, and finish school. That's it, basically.
Do you want to talk about how you finished school? Because I know that was something that you're very proud of.
Oh, I started college right after high school, and then I got married and had Michelle, so I had stopped school again. And it wasn't until, I don't know, I started going at the summer, and in between that I had divorced my husband, so it was a little bit hard. I had 3 kids, I worked full time, I was going to college, and I took extra jobs on the side. What I want to tell other people is, if you can, do it before you have children, because I feel that I never gave them the attention that they should have, because I just came in for a minute and said, oh, hi kids, now I'm going to school, and that's not good. So my advice, and though you didn't ask it, always let them finish school and before they start any other activities.
Yeah. I know, Grandma, you worked for the city for a long time, and Mom, you did a lot of different things. But Grandma, do you want to start talking about maybe how you got that job, if you want? It's a funny story.
Oh, yes. I don't know what my husband Doug did, but apparently his boss was going to fire him. And somebody told the boss, how could you leave that family with no one supporting them? So the day I was hired was the day my husband was fired. And everybody was like, what? What? You know, because the names, you know, Doug Milner's being fired and Manet Milner's starting. They couldn't believe it. But if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have had that career. But it paid for what I needed, and I'm so grateful to the city.
Did you take his exact job? Or
Yeah, we used to get money from the government, and the government had this program where we had to go tell people if they had a rat problem that we would fix it. And it's very hard to knock on a door and tell people that, but we did. We were fixing potholes in the street. We had to go there sometimes because the people will come out of their houses and say, no, we're not going to do it because you're going to raise taxes. And we said, no, we're not going to raise taxes. If I were you, just let them fix everything they can. Anyways, the program advanced. So I stayed with it for my 36 years, except for 2 years I worked for the Department of Transportation. I love my job.
I remember going to your office, and yeah, everyone loved you. You had a big office, and yeah, it was fun.
There was even a time period where I was working at a legal services agency that provided free legal services to elderly people. And the funny thing is that my mom was a grant manager for the city, and she managed the grant that was offered to the nonprofit organization where I worked, by coincidence. Anyway, that was a small world.
Yeah.
So I thought I could do what my mom did, which was, so when I graduated from law school, I was actually 8 months pregnant, interviewing for a job. The people who were interviewing me didn't say anything about me being pregnant, which they're not allowed to by law. They're just interviewing me as a future employee. And they actually offered me the position. And I thought to myself, this is the place where I want to work, where they're willing to hire a woman who's 8 months pregnant. Then they very sort of discreetly said to me, when would you like to start? And I said, how about in about 5 months? And they said, that works for us, that's fine. And so they knew that I wanted to have time with my child, or my oldest son, when he was born. And I thought I would be off to the races and working like my mom did. And I did. We had a nanny. I had a lot of resources, being married in a stable relationship. And I left my young son. And I went to work, and I drove to work every day, and I had a nice job as a lawyer at a nonprofit, the one that my mom funded through the city. And then about 2 years later, I became pregnant with you. And I worked through the pregnancy, and then I had some time off after you were born. And when you were 3 months old, I took you in a stroller, and I took you to my boss's office, and I told him that I wouldn't be coming back. I just felt like I had that privilege because I knew I had the financial means to take that time off. And although I loved my work, I felt like with especially 2 children at home, I would rather be at home for those young years. So I actually never worked when you were very little. 2.5 years later, I had our 3rd child, Ben. I had trained so much and put a lot of time and effort to becoming a lawyer. And so I wanted to see if I could make my career work with having 3 children and support from home. And so I started to try different jobs. It was very difficult to manage trying to be a lawyer and have 3 young children, even with the support of your father and the support of a nanny. It was still a lot of juggling, driving you to school, picking you up, and trying to manage all of that. So I was thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? Because as much as I love being around all 3 of you, I also felt like I had a lot of energy, intellect that I wanted to offer things to the world. And so I figured I could be a teacher. And so I worked at your school. I had been volunteering and helping. Those I call the golden years because you, Noah and Ben and I, we would go to school together, and I would teach and you would be in the classroom, and then there was a great after-school program, and then we would come home together. And so life in a way was easy because you loved school, I loved working with the students, and I did that for 5 years, and I appreciate those years. And then COVID came along, and I think a lot of people were rethinking their jobs. You know, I really love working in the garden. My friends asked me to help them with their landscaping, and I was always helping friends with their gardens, and I decided to become a landscape designer. I'm so glad that I found it after all this time. It took me a while.
I love hearing about both of your lives and careers. I think it's inspiring for me because I went to college and then I've done a couple different things, but now I'm teaching art at a nonprofit, which kind of leads back to that, working with adults with disabilities who are artists. It's been inspiring to see both of you helping people in your careers and also going for what your own dreams are, even if you realize them a little later. And I often think about that, like in multi-generational family, well, all families are multi-generational, but especially with maybe immigrant families, someone's coming here, they kind of have to just do whatever they can to make it work for their family, and then maybe their children have a little bit more choice. And then I feel like I have been very grateful to have a lot of choice. And sometimes, you know, you can get wrapped up in the guilt of that, of like, everyone's telling you, oh, like, the world is your oyster, you can do anything you want. Which I'm obviously very grateful for, and I've had a lot of support, a great education. And, but I also think family worked really hard, like, let me just try to do what I really want, even if it's art, and that's kind of a difficult thing to do. And I think I would work hard for my kid to also be able to do their dreams.
Yeah, what you're saying created an image in my mind, which is that we are always standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want anybody to do it like I did. For the simple reason, I would come home, eat a couple of bites of food, hi honey, get ready for bed, and then take off for school. I had a 7 to 10 class, I had a 4 to 7 class. I mean, it was crazy. And I even was allowed to take a class during lunch, but I had to stay after work to make up the time. So it was hard, and I decided I will finish my degree before I turn 30. And I finished in July, I think 6 or something, and I turned 30 July 31st. So I did it. It was hard, but I did it.
Yeah, and I think that definitely influenced me because I took a very straight and narrow path, which was high school, college, law school, and then get a job, and so I really feel like I learned that lesson from what your experience was, that I didn't want to make it so hard on myself. And then now I feel like you're at the point where you get to choose whatever it is you want to do, and you also are a very talented artist. That isn't an easy path.
I wanted to ask another question about maybe raising your kids or your life. Was there ever a moment where you look back and you wish you could have done something differently? Or when you realized maybe, my parents are trying their best, but they're also just humans. That was something you told me to say, so I'm not throwing that at you. There were points in my life where I think as you get to be an adult, you realize that when you're little, your parents are kind of like gods. You don't know anything else, so they are they're creating your world. I think, at least for me, at some point you realize, they're humans too, and I enjoy being able to relate to you as an adult more too. It's
I remember a moment like that with my mom where I saw how hard you work, and I am filled with so much respect and pride for everything that you've done and accomplished. And then I was just holding you up to on this very high pedestal. And then I went to college, and I remember I came back one day and I was like, wow, my mom, you're just a regular human being. and at that moment, I think it takes some growth and maturity inside of myself to have grace for the fullness of who we are as human beings, or not only the things that we do that are so positive and great, but also the things that are really challenging to us and difficult for us, and places where we falter.
Would you give any advice to parents or mothers or caretakers facing some of the similar challenges of either going through the process of having a career and children, or having other special challenges?
Well, I think everything was good, except one day Michele said to me, when are you taking me to the hospital? You take Zach and you take Kimberly, but you never take me to the hospital. And I realized how much I neglected her, because all I was thinking of getting my other children better. So I would say you have to remember, if you have 3, there's 3. Take care of the 2, but take care of the 1. So I'm fortunate she came out okay. Very fortunate.
Yeah. As much as we value the nuclear family, in this day and age, it's very difficult to raise a family just with a nuclear family. And so, for example, my grandmother really helped raise us, and that allowed my mom to go to school. I may not have had to make the choices I had to make if we had more of an extended family around us. Building that community has been important to me, to have good friends, watch you, or if I needed to do something or pick you up from school. And I feel like the more we're able to build the strong communities, the better it is for our children and for ourselves, because it makes life a little bit easier, especially if both parents are very interested in pursuing careers.
Another question I've been wondering is, how do you express love, or what's something that you would also love to receive, thinking about Mother's Day, and how do you feel like you're being taken care of and loved?
Well, Michele always gave me cards. And unfortunately, her sister couldn't do that, and her brother didn't do it either. So I was glad to have Michele, because I would get those cards. And then when you guys were born, I decided I would spend more time with you that I couldn't spend with Michele. So you guys are spoiled rotten. And you still are. But, anything they want, anything they need, they want to go out, they need money for books, I'll pay for it, I don't care.
I think that in terms of expressing love, it's having time together. I feel like time together is what's most precious. That's when I feel very whole and loved and complete.
Well, I wanted to say one thing that I admire from both of you. Grandma, starting with you, I just really admire your strength and how you have had a lot of difficulties in your life, but you are also so much fun. And all of my friends that meet you, they just love you and your ability to just have a good time no matter what. And it's not always easy, but we really, always come back to having a good time and loving each other, and I really appreciate that. So you're very, very meaningful to me, and really you have helped shape who I am, for sure.
Oh, that's good. That's why you're bossy.
Yeah. And for you, Mom, I really admire, first of all, you are just have that creative energy, and you just have so many fun ideas all the time, doing things together and being in the garden and cooking and always a new project. Also, you're both of you caring for other people and through your work, and also how you did kind of make a career change and just readjusted to, you know what, I have this opportunity. I don't necessarily need to be the earner for the family because Dad was making most of the money and then you took a couple years to get your business going. You are like staying up late studying, and I'm like, oh my god, my mom's like doing her homework at 11 p.m. and yeah, so I really admire that. Just lifelong learners, both of you, and you watch the news, so you always tell me what's going on because I don't know what's going on. So we talk about that, and I appreciate that. Is there one word that you would like to describe our relationship? I could think of one.
Loving.
Loving. Yeah. I think strength for me.
Caring.
Yeah. And I just have this image of my mind of like golden light. So like the idea of gold and what gold represents, which is its strength, it's precious at the same time as being strong. Reminds me of like lineage. You've always worn this like gold chain. I have this. It's something that, was passed down through generations, and I feel like that golden chain that links us back to grandmothers whom we've never met, but they're inside of us and they're alive with us, and we keep that alive. So I think it's really beautiful. I also was thinking about like how lucky we are to have this intergenerational relationship that's so alive. Because sometimes, grandchildren, grandmothers, mothers, they come in and out of each other's lives, but because we're all in this city together and we make time for each other, if you only had me as your mother and you didn't have the counterpoint of your grandmother, then you'd probably be like such a serious person.
You're not always serious.
That's true, not always serious, but having your grandmother and like your friends see a grandmother who didn't fit in the typical grandmother kind of role, I think that just allowed us to be more of who we are and more authentic, which is what else can you ask for, right?
So I'm very grateful we had this time together today. I feel like I learned a lot, and that's a great way to spend Mother's Day and get to talk and learn about each other. Happy Mother's Day to my mom and grandma.
You.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to you, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day to you, Michelle. And I better not be saying Happy Mother's Day to you. I'm sorry.
Take 3. Thank you also to the Hearst Foundation for having us.
Yes.
I'm very grateful, and to Serena. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Thank you, Calaya, and thank you to all 3 of you. 3 generations, 1 golden thread. Thank you all for watching. I hope you found a piece of yourself somewhere in our Mother's Day special. Keep challenging, keep nurturing. If there's someone you love to hear on this show, follow us on Instagram and YouTube and leave a comment. We will do our best to make it happen. Until then, stay bold. This is Serena to every mother, every grandmother, every daughter. Your story matters. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy
Mother's Day!